And we are back live, coming to you from the Parliament building in downtown Castries. We have the senators now seated, and we are awaiting the entry of the President of the Senate, which should be happening any moment now. We can see in the chamber at this time the Leader of Government Business, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, also Minister for Health and Wellness, also the Senator the Honorable Herman Gill Francis is back in the Senate today. We also have Senator the Honorable Fortuna Belrose. We have both independent senators seated, Dr. Adrian Auger and Senator the Honorable Mauricio Thomas Francis. In the opposition space, we have the leader of the opposition in the Senate, Senator Gideon Ferdinand. We also have Senator Lucia here present. Senate has convened today, Thursday, the 6th of May, 2021. Continuation of proceedings following the sitting of the House of Assembly earlier this week to table matters related to the Senate, and should be seeing the motion being forwarded into the upper house to extend the state of emergency to October 16th, 2021. We also note the presence of Opposition Senator Terence Sinclair as well, also being present today. If you're just joining the live, a special good morning to you. We stand by for the commencement of the sitting of the upper house today, Thursday, the 6th of May, 2021. Senate proceedings should begin shortly.
Let us pray.
Good morning. Trusting God is more than a feeling. It's a choice to have faith in what He says, even when your feelings or your circumstances would have you believe something totally different. Your feelings and your circumstances matter, and they care very much worth paying attention to. God cares for them both, but those things alone are not reliable enough to base your life on. They can change at any moment, even in an instant. God, on the other hand, does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and therefore, He is worthy of our trust. Almighty God, by whom alone kings reign and princes decree justice, and from whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom, and understanding, we thine unworthy servants are gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above to direct and to guide us in all our consultation. And grant that we have in thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the Queen, the public weal, peace, and tranquility of St. Lucia, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. The grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen.
Good morning, Senators. I have received correspondence from the Speaker of the House of Assembly advising that the following motions and bills were passed in the House of Assembly and forwarded to the Senate for its concurrence. Constitution of St. Lucia, further extension of Resolution of Parliament approving declaration of state of emergency. Counter-trafficking amendment, Companies Amendment, Money Services Business Amendment, Tourism Stimulus and Investment Amendment. I would like to wish all mothers in St. Lucia a happy Mother's Day coming on Sunday. Statements by ministers. Honorable Leader of Government Business. Papers to be laid. Honorable Leader of Government Business. Papers to be laid.
Madam President, I beg to lay the following papers standing in my name. Statutory Instrument Number 67 of 2021, COVID-19 Prevention and Control Prohibition of Assembly Number 4 Order. Statutory Instrument Number 68 of 2021, COVID-19 Prevention and Control Physical Distancing Number 4 Order. Statutory Instrument Number 69 of 2021, Price Control Amendment Number 6 Order, Statutory Instrument Number 70 of 2021, Excise Tax Amendment of Schedule 1, Number 6 Order, Statutory Instrument Number 71 of 2020, National Savings and Development Bonds Act, Resolution of Parliament to raise funds by the issue of savings bonds, Statutory Instrument Number 72 of 2021, Alien Land Holding Licensing Exemption, Royal Crescentia St. Lucia Limited Order,
Motions. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Constitution of St. Lucia, further extension of Resolution of Parliament approving declaration of state of emergency. Whereas it is provided by Section 17(1) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101, that the Governor General may, by proclamation which shall be published in the Gazette, declare that a state of emergency exists for the purposes of Chapter 1 of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101. And whereas it is further provided by Section 17(3) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101, that the declaration of emergency shall lapse, A, in the case of a declaration made when Parliament is sitting, at the expiration of a period of 7 days, beginning with the date of publication of the declaration, and B, in any other case, at the expiration of a period of 21 days, beginning with the date of publication of the declaration, unless it has in the meantime been approved by resolutions of the Senate and the House. And whereas it is further provided by Section 17(6) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101, that A, a resolution of the Senate or the House passed for the purposes of Section 17 shall remain in force for 12 months or such shorter period as may be specified in the resolution. B, a resolution under paragraph A may be extended from time to time by a further such resolution, each extension not exceeding 12 months from the date of the resolution effecting the extension, and such resolution may be revoked at any time by a further resolution. And whereas the Governor General, by proclamation, declared a state of emergency that was published in the Gazette on the 3rd day of February 2021, as statutory instrument number 27 of 2021, containing a declaration that a public emergency has arisen as a result of the occurrence of 2019 nCoV, an infectious disease commonly known as COVID-19. And whereas the declaration of emergency is made when Parliament is sitting and will expire at the end of a period of 7 days beginning with the date of publication of the declaration, unless the declaration is approved by resolutions of the Senate and the House. And whereas Parliament approved the declaration of a state of emergency that was published in the Gazette on the 3rd day of February 2021 as statutory instrument number 27 of 2021, containing a declaration that a public emergency has arisen as a result of the occurrence of 2019 nCoV, an infectious disease commonly known as COVID-19, for a further period of 90 days, commencing from the 11th day of February 2021 and ending on the 16th day of May 2021 by the Constitution of St. Lucia, resolution of Parliament approving declaration of state of emergency passed as statutory instrument number 38 of 2021. And whereas it is necessary to further extend for an additional period of 5 months, commencing from the 17th day of May 2021 and ending on the 16th day of October 2021, in accordance with Section 17(6) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101, the Constitution of St. Lucia, Resolution of Parliament approving declaration of state of emergency, passed as statutory instrument number 38 of 2021, that extended the state of emergency for an additional period of 90 days, commencing from the 11th day of February 2021 and ending on the 16th day of May 2021. Be it resolved that Parliament further extends for an additional period of 5 months, commencing from the 17th day of May 2021 and ending on the 16th day of October 2021, in accordance with Section 17(6) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101, the Constitution of St. Lucia, Resolution of Parliament approving declaration of state of emergency, passed as statutory instrument number 38 of 2021, that extended the state of emergency for an additional period of 90 days, commencing from the 11th day of February 2021 and ending on the 16th day of May 2021. Madam President, this resolution is requesting an extension of the state of emergency passed in this Honorable House as statutory instrument number 38 of 2021 that extended the state of emergency for an additional period of 90 days, commencing from February 11, 2021 to May 16, 2021. Since the current state of emergency comes to an end on May 16, Madam President, less than 2 weeks away, we are requesting an extension for 5 months, commencing from May 17, 2021 to October 16, 2021. As you are aware, Madam President, we have made similar requests before to extend the state of emergency, first proclaimed by our Governor General and published in the Gazette on February 3, 2021, as statutory instrument number 27 of 2021. The first proclamation of the state of emergency was declared as a result of the occurrence of COVID-19 under the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101. That first proclamation was made when Parliament was sitting, and as such, Madam President, it could only remain in effect for a period of 7 days as per our Constitution. Therefore, it was necessary to extend the state of emergency for an additional 90 days, during which time the COVID-19 situation would be monitored to determine whether or not to institute further extensions. Madam President, since the onset of COVID-19, the government of St. Lucia has taken many measures to safeguard the lives and livelihood of all the citizens of our country. Some of these measures include the opening of OKEU, retrofitting and renovating the Victoria Hospital to serve as a respiratory hospital, extended hours of operations at the Grozile Polyclinic and a few other wellness centers throughout the island, curfews, closure of schools, blended approaches to work, especially in the hospitality, tourism, and construction sectors. Many activities had to be curtailed or banned or put off for later. Many agencies, Madam President, including government, instituted work from home and other work conditions for their workers. Many programs were instituted to sustain workers who had lost their jobs, and families who were in distress were supported as much as possible with social programs. Stringent measures were imposed to ensure that citizens adhere to the COVID-19 protocols. However, the Chief Medical Officer, working in conjunction with our command center, have expressed the need to continue the curfew in order to continue to safeguard our country against the dreaded coronavirus. Madam President, the state of emergency forms the legal basis for the imposition of the curfew. It is the best and most reliable, dynamic, and flexible tool to accomplish the task of instituting a curfew that can be suspended and removed at any time deemed necessary without having to go back to the Governor General to make a new proclamation. Madam President, after careful consideration of the numerous complaints and recognizing the fact that our citizens were under tremendous psychosocial, mental, emotional, and financial pressure due to the imposition of the first set of curfews and the other measures that were put in place to protect our country from the virus, coupled with the fact that we had some of the best statistics in the region in terms of the management of the pandemic, a decision was made to relax our measures to allow citizens to breathe during the Christmas season. However, this resulted in an escalation of the spread of the disease as well as a spike. To date, Madam President, we have suffered many casualties and increases in the numbers of persons who have contracted the virus as a result of easing up on the protocols and not instituting tighter preventative measures over the Christmas season. Learning from this experience, Madam President, and recognizing our cultural propensity for celebration, we tightened our protocols over the Easter season. As a result, Madam President, we were able to keep our numbers down, and to date, we are hovering at an average of less than 100 cases per week, with 107 active cases on island. Madam President, we will be in a comfortable space if we can reduce our cases to somewhere below 50 or less. In addition, Madam President, we have continued to roll out our vaccine drive, which is proving to be very successful so far. To date, we have vaccinated 24,653 citizens with the first dose and 6,690 citizens with the second dose. And of course, you are looking at a sample of someone who has taken both the first and second dose right here in front of you, Madam President. Thank God I suffered no side effects so far, and I hope that as people continue to take the vaccine, as the vaccine continue to roll out, that none of our citizens suffer any damaging side effects. Madam President, we are aiming for herd immunity, which according to the science occurs between 60 to 70% vaccination of our population. So with a population of 180,000 people, we expect to vaccinate at least 108 people to reach herd immunity. Madam President, 108,000 people, sorry. Madam President, there was a lull created in our vaccination drive at a time when we did not have sufficient vaccines to continue to administer to all and sundry. We slowed down our efforts in anticipation of receiving additional vaccines. It was during that period we received a batch from the COVAX facility, 24,000 vaccines, as well as 4,000 from our sister isle, St. Vincent. We are awaiting 100,000 vaccines that the government of St. Lucia has purchased and 50,000 from the COVAX mechanism between this week and the end of this month. At the rate that our people are presenting themselves for the vaccine and recognizing the need to vaccinate, I have no doubt, Madam President, that we will be able to accomplish herd immunity within reasonable time so that we can relax the COVID protocols and reopen our economy. Madam President, it is based on this premise and on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of St. Lucia, working with the Command Center, that the government of St. Lucia is presenting this resolution today in this honorable House, requesting an additional 5 months to extend the curfew through the state of emergency. I present this resolution, Madam President, for the favorable consideration of my fellow senators.
Senators, the question is that Parliament further extend an additional period of 5 months, commencing from the 17th day of May 2021 and ending on the 16th day of October 2021, in accordance with Section 17(6) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 1.01, the Constitution of St. Lucia. Resolution of Parliament, approving declaration of state of emergency passed as statutory instrument number 38 of 2021 that extended the state of emergency for an additional period of 90 days, commencing from the 11th day of February 2021 and ending on the 16th day of May 2021. Leader of Opposition Business.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, colleagues. Madam President, before I proceed, I want to extend welcome back wishes to colleague Senator Francis, as well as other colleague Senator Francis, who were absent at our last sittings, Madam President, this morning we are here to seek permission of Parliament to grant the extension of a state of emergency from the 17th of May 2021 for an additional 5 months to the 16th of October of this year, 2021. I have listened to the attempt by the leader of government business to justify or to attempt to justify the extension. I have carefully paid attention to the arguments that have been presented as well by the Honorable Prime Minister. And I've also paid attention to the reactions of my fellow colleague, my St. Lucian colleagues, my fellow St. Lucians, what they believe, what they feel. And so my response this morning is based on all of the above. And I will seek to ask a few questions and offer my own views on what I make of this request or this attempt to extend the state of emergency. Madam President, we have heard that a major argument presented is to manage COVID. I will be the first to say that we need to manage COVID. St. Lucia has been through this crisis for a while, and any attempt that is made by the CMO, the government, the people, friends of the state, citizens alike, voluntary groups, everyone, to try to manage this situation, I would applaud. However, Madam President, I am very concerned and I am very curious about the reason why the extension for a state of emergency is being sought, particularly for a period of 5 months. I am curious about the raison d'etre for this significantly long extension. Now, we have been to this Honorable House before to seek extension for the state of emergency, but I think this is the longest period that we are requesting. So, Madam President, let us examine an argument that was presented first by the Prime Minister for the extension. The Prime Minister indicated that for the last few months, the country has seen an improvement in the number of cases, that is a reduction in the number of cases of COVID. And I want to take the opportunity to commend St. Lucians, particularly our frontline workers, the police, healthcare providers, and everyone who has contributed to that which the Prime Minister described. But as soon as that proclamation or that description was given, what is the response that we get? Here we are, we're seeing some progress, and all of us want it to continue. But what is the response? We impose a 5-month state of emergency. Is that a response? When we are starting to see a semblance of improvement as claimed by the Prime Minister? Madam President, the imposition of the state of emergency at this point does not sit in congruence with the previous case that the government put for the state of emergency when we last came to this House. Back then, it was because there was certain legislation that had to be passed and certain decisions that had to be made, and there had been a spike, and so things had to be brought under control. So if there is no spike, there is no recent spike, on the contrary, there seemed to be a reduction, then why 5 months? Why? Madam President, I don't get the logic in this. We have been here before, Madam President, to deal with legislation that has attempted or that has been presented to deal with COVID. The government has passed the COVID Prevention Act, and the only thing it does not authorize the government to do without coming to the Parliament is to impose a curfew. All of the other conditions that are necessary to keep COVID under control, the protocols, the adjustments, and all of those can be achieved by that very piece of legislation. And so, if that is the case, then why is it necessary to have a 5-month extension? And this 5-month extension, Madam President, if you note well, it goes beyond the dissolution date of Parliament, which is supposed to be in July. So, Madam President, well, the 6th of June was the election date, and then the first sitting of Parliament was in July. So, if that is the case, and the government was concerned about not being able to come back to the Parliament to make adjustments to the resolution, the Constitution under Section 55, I think it's subsection 5, does make provision for, under state of emergency, for the Parliament to meet or convene and do that. And so, in that regard, if the government had to return after the dissolution of Parliament to impose a state of emergency or any other legislation in that regard, not a state of emergency, but any legislation in that regard, then provision is made for that to happen. So, for example, we could have come back after the dissolution of Parliament to pass legislation for a shorter period to manage the situation as required. But instead, we are taking a decision now to have a 5-month extension, all the way down to October. So, Madam President, if the argument, therefore, is COVID, that is what we want to do, we want to manage COVID, then, Madam President, permit me to have a short discussion on COVID. Madam President, let us start by making a comparison. I always like to, when I present arguments, present comparisons that we can relate to. And let us start with our neighboring Barbados. Neighboring country, very similar issues with us. The population is about 1.5 times ours. They used to be a hub for tourists in the Caribbean, or they are. But, Madam President, look at what is happening there. Despite the population of Barbados being about 1.5 times ours, Barbados is doing about 4 times the testing that we are currently doing. Barbados has over 1,000 less cases than we do. And Barbados certainly has far less deaths than we do. And so, if we are putting a case for an extended state of emergency, and I understood the Prime Minister visited Barbados sometime last week, I hope he took some time to ask the Prime Minister of Barbados how she was able, or how she's able to keep the number of cases in her country far below ours, how she's able to keep the number of deaths in her country far below ours, and how she's able to have testing, because the population is much larger, 4 times the amount of testing that we do. So I think these are some of the best practices that we should start looking at before we just decide to impose extended state of emergencies on our people and try to justify it by using the COVID argument. Madam President, another argument that is related to COVID was presented when the opposition challenged the government on the number of deaths. And one of the arguments was that most of these deaths were because of pre-existing conditions, as if to suggest that these people would have died anyway. Madam President, I contend that even people with pre-existing conditions, had there been no COVID, the pre-existing conditions may not have resulted in their death. Whether it's diabetes, hypertension, heart problems, respiratory issues, without the COVID situation, without COVID, they would not have perished. That is just logic. And so to present the argument that, okay, they were pre-existing conditions, they would have died. And so, Madam President, I think the focus should be to strengthen our practices, our capacity to test, our protocols, our vaccination program. I heard mention of it earlier. These are the areas where you would expect a stronger focus now that there is a semblance of reduction. A state of emergency is not required to do any of those things. You do not need a state of emergency to increase testing. You do not need a state of emergency to increase your vaccination capacity. You do not need a state of emergency, Madam President, to take some of the measures that you need to take to continue to cause the number of cases of COVID to go down and hopefully eliminate completely. So, Madam President, I go back to the question, therefore, what is the real reason why you need to impose the state of emergency at this time for 5 months? Now, I am not suggesting that there will never be a need for a state of emergency, although we have argued that before. But if you decide that it is so necessary, I continue to ask, why is it being imposed and why for 5 months? So, Madam President, I think that this raises, again, suspicion among the people of St. Lucia, particularly since it's going past the month of July. Madam President, I have given some of the suggestions as to what the government can continue to do to strengthen our fight against COVID. I also suggest that the government can continue to look at how we can improve income support, because some people still remain out of employment, families are still suffering. The government can continue to look at the ways that we can achieve herd immunity, herd immunity. I think that it is very clear, and I've made that suggestion in the House before, that our target in St. Lucia should have been by now to achieve that 70%. And if we are falling short, we can strengthen those measures. State of emergency is not required for you to do that. And the countries in the region that have gotten closer to herd immunity than we have, Madam President, do the research. Most of them have not imposed a state of emergency on the people of the country. And so, Madam President, the logic is not there. Now, the leader of government business this morning mentioned this in her argument, indicated that the these measures can have strong emotional and psychosocial effects on the people, and that is true. And if that is the case, if we were aware that in addition to the economic hardship and all the other problems that occur when you impose curfews on those, why is it therefore that the people are already going through so many months of emotional, social, psychosocial stress and discomfort? Why then do you impose an additional 5 months of a state of emergency on these people? And your justification is to manage COVID. When we can show and we can argue very clearly that you can achieve every single thing that you want to achieve without a state of emergency. And if it becomes necessary, the Constitution even provides you, after the dissolution of Parliament, to come back to be able to pass legislation. So, Madam President, I still cannot find the justification in the argument that has been presented to us by this government. But I say to you, Madam President, while the arguments continue to be presented, the reasoning of the people have in no way been compromised. They can read right through this. We know the issues with small businesses, how they've suffered in the last few months. We know the issues with our police officers, their services. Every day they have to deal with a lot of issues because of the new protocols. They have been exhausted. We have heard that the COVID wardens were appointed to help. And by the way, Madam President, I'm very curious, what is the situation with them as we go forward? What is their status? I hope we can get an update on that. So, Madam President, after all of that, the only thing we can come up with is to impose a 5-month state of emergency. As if we are holding the people of St. Lucia hostage. That we are stifling them, we're keeping them, there's oppression, you're feeling this is that is the response and the reaction that you are getting on the ground from the people. And so, Madam President, anytime that happens, people get uncomfortable, they get suspicious, and they tend to want to resist. And I have always said in this House, Madam President, when you want compliance and you want people to buy into what you are doing, you do not do so with any high-handed measures. You have to win people over by educating them, by giving them the impression that you empathize, that they can see value in what you're doing for them, and they will buy in and cooperate. The more you try to take the high-handed, suppressive approach, is the more people feel backed in a corner and the more they will resist. The psychology is clear about that. And so I am not sure that this is the way to go. I think we can do better, Madam President. Therefore, Madam President, I want to wrap up by saying to St. Lucians who have to deal with these next 5 months that they need to hold on. Continue to hold on, obey the protocols, continue to cooperate as much as they can, continue to do what the law says that they should do, even if they feel oppressed and suppressed and they need to exhale. I say to them, hold on. Let us be law-abiding citizens. Because the day will come very soon, Madam President, that our St. Lucians will have a chance to exhale. So hold on, because the day will come when you will soon deliver us from the hold and all that has happened, that has made us uncomfortable under this present government. Madam President, I thank you.
Senator Jarrah. Senator Sinclair.
Good morning to you, Madam President, and similar salutations to my fellow senators. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. I also want to echo the welcoming remarks to Honorable Senator Herman Gill Francis and also Marisa Thomas Francis, who are back in the Parliament with us today, and that can only add to the quality of the debate here today. Madam President, I rise to categorically oppose the motion being tabled here today to extend the state of emergency from May 17, 2021 to October 16, 2021. I will be a little more forthright and radical than my lead senator in that I contend very strongly, Madam President, and with very little fear of sincere contradiction by members opposite, that the decision to extend this ongoing state of emergency initially put into place for 1 week, and then it was extended for 3 months, and now it is being put in place for 5 months. I will not reiterate the obvious burden that places on our citizenry, but suffice to say that 5 months, Madam President, is questionable at best, and it is very questionable. Whilst we all understand that the COVID situation, the pandemic, is a very fluid one facing the globe, Madam President, our previous enactment of fully loaded COVID bid, the Prevention and Control Act number 9 of 2020, as articulated by my former colleague, together with other legislation already on our books, it lends enough force to actually control and manage properly the COVID pandemic, especially at this time. I feel very, very strongly about this, Madam President, because the issues at hand, inclusive of the operating times of businesses, establishments, schools, and even the sale and disposal of intoxicating liquor, all of this can be done without imposing a curfew. This has already been litigated by my colleague, so I will not dwell on this. But I will ask a very pertinent question, though. Why the administration's absolute fixation on having a curfew in its toolbox? Regarding its rationale for the extension of the state of emergency, Madam President, they seem to be, like already put forward by Honorable Senator, it seems to be a distaste in the mouths of the common man and woman within the St. Lucian society. And let us not, like I said, belittle them. There's a lot of common sense with these common people. Already, the decision to request an extension has already been overwhelmingly graded down as a poor decision. And you can hear it being echoed in the bus stops, the bus stands, the public buses, the food markets, and of course, what's relevant these days, it is very, very prevalent on social media. This may not be the gauge that the administration will choose to follow, and I respect the reference to the experts, the CMO, the Ministry of Health, but that we have to take with a pinch of salt. There is one school of thought that says that this decision came out of a hasty move by a few individuals. I can benefit from the enlightenment from the other side as to the process Was there any reference to the data showing the increase, mapping out the areas of St. Lucia that are more vulnerable and where the COVID is going up or going down? We have nothing but trust to go on. And we know that there's been a deficiency in trust in the administration. That has already been litigated. Madam President, I also would like to draw your attention to another very important matter here. There is going to be a very significant economic loss. Economics, the cost opportunity of having a state of emergency. We look at business and we look at foreign direct investment in the first instance. It would be not so prudent for a foreign investor to come into a foreign country when there is a state of emergency. The local businessman, on the other hand, if he decides to stay the course, what decisions does he make? How does he decide whether he's going to expand his business, acquire new plant or equipment, regulate how much hiring or firing that he does? These decisions, Madam Speaker, they are not those that we take lightly during a state of emergency. The other extreme is that, Madam President, if there was a war and there was really a need for a state of emergency, you knew that would have been off the table completely. Investment, both local and from abroad, if there was a war. Now we have to expand it so that we can show you that there's always in between. But a state of emergency, these are one of the preconditions that would justify a state of emergency. It's not something to be taken lightly, members on the other side. Through you, Madam President. There's also another area that I just spoke to just before, the lack of transparency and accountability. And we know that one of the machinations of a state of emergency is that you can determine that contracts are to be let under a guise of urgency. And so we lose the benefit of tendering in that we are more likely to secure better prices from contractors. There is less likelihood of nepotism, picking and choosing who does what for government and at what cost. So we have to be very cognizant of the fact that there is an attendant loss of transparency and accountability during a state of emergency. This is not to be taken lightly. In this very honorable House, Madam President, we have approved in September last year the reform in public finance administration. Whether it was under pressure from the regional or international institutions for accountability, that's for another discussion. But surely, we went into and passed the Public Finance and Management Act. And that was supposed to engender more accountability in how monies from the consolidated fund is spent. So what happens now with the state of emergency? It would be interesting, Madam President, if the government would take a suggestion, a humble one at that we form a select committee of Parliament. Any contracts to be let over $1 million has to get a green light from a select committee. Will this happen? Your guess is as good as mine. So it would be very instructive, Madam President, to keep a log of the various contracts to be let over the next 5 months. The amounts relative to the attendant scope of works and the names of these awardees, Madam President. I personally do not anticipate any new start to the already established norms. I do not expect that. But this is done all in the name of COVID. And it is a very, very serious matter. But the underlying currents seem to say differently. You see, Madam President, the members of the current administration perpetually advance the argument that the SLP is a party of opposition. Of course we are in opposition, but not just for opposing sake. We give suggestions, and very sensible ones at times, but they seem to fall on deaf ears. Case in point, the respectable leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, he articulated, Madam President, a 7-point rescue plan to manage and eventually eliminate COVID from our shores. These were simple suggestions, a 7-point plan. And permit me, Madam President, to reiterate for the benefit of all and sundry the propositions that were placed as far back as February 1st by the Honorable Leader. So we find ourselves 3 months later debating the extension of a state of emergency, supposedly driven by the same virus, when the old adage of a stitch in time saves 9. Those of you who would refer to the old Student's Companion would remember that these are one of the quotations. A stitch in time saves 9. So we don't need all of these sophisticated methods at times. Simple practices. And I give, Madam President, the following. The 7-point plan read inter alia, and I'll give you the unadulterated readout of the 7-point plan. 1, Madam President, it called for expansion of testing and tracing. 2, it called for expanding treatment capacity. 3, it asked to rethink travel and tourism related measures. We understand now that the emphasis will be in the next couple of weeks on cruise tourism. All well and good as far as stimulating economic activity for all of us. But let us rethink as to how we roll this out and who is going to be the beneficiary. Is it going to be at the expense of our local people, or it's supposed to bolster the balance sheet of the cruise liners? The 4th point on this 7-point plan was to revise the shutdown of the country in the form of temporary shutdown, state of emergency. Let's just revise this. Simple measures. Number 5, it called for protection of our education sector. I will take the initiative to add on, apart from protecting the education sector, to augment the amount of resources that we are going to allocate to the education sector, to ensure that the protocols at schools, the teachers, parents, and students are put in place. And number 6, it said, quickly implement a vaccination program. I repeat, Madam President, quickly implement a vaccination program. That is very relevant now. And the lead senator before me made reference to Barbados. Not only do they do 4 times the amount of testing, but to date, Madam President, they have already achieved in excess of 154,000 jabs, whilst, sad to say, we are struggling to cross the finish line of 25,000. And we understand that there may well be a shortage of vaccines. The benevolent country of India, we all know what they're going through. At the moment, they don't even have enough resources to use within India itself. So, we hope and pray. And the last but not least, we said that implement an economic and social relief program. Number 7. These are all sensible recommendations in the form of a 7-point plan that is still very, very relevant today. I also find it fair and reasonable, through you, Madam President, to pose the following questions to the Honorable Senator for Government Business. As we can see, all the pertinent issues justifying the extension of the state of emergency deals with the health matters. So A, the question is to the leader of government business. If we were the best in the Caribbean, why haven't we done much better or even average in so many facets of COVID-19 management and control? And now we require a 5-month extension to make up lost ground. B, is there a plan for more serious testing program? For example, Madam President, the whole country was hopeful when we started off and initiated the VG Sports Complex testing program. What has happened to this program? I beg that question to be answered. What has happened to the testing program when it is still relevant? What about the public service announcements? What about the education component that is so vital in generating interest and sustaining such a program? I live in St. Lucia, Madam President. I don't hear any PSAs. All I've been hearing lately is that vaccination will be taking place next week at the Beausejour Cricket Ground in Ancillary. That should not be eliminated by any means. But what about testing? The two go hand in hand. And also relevant, Madam President, is there an effort, Madam President, to demystify the notion of the variants? I was surprised to hear that in the debate at the lower house, I couldn't believe my ears when the Right Honorable Prime Minister referred to the word variant. To my mind, and Hansard can prove me wrong, I have never heard at least the mention of the word variant. Least you would expect any focus on the British variant, the B117, the South African variant, SA1351, the Brazilian variant, P1, and also some people are asking, is there a 2-island variant in St. Lucia at the moment? 2 different islands. We very well may be encountering a 2 St. Lucia variant shortly. It may not be in medical terms, but it certainly will be in economic. The final question to the Honorable Leader of Government Business, through you again, Madam President. I sincerely would like to know, on a point of accountability, what has happened to the $54 million loan facility, 20 million US, that was secured from the IDA, and it was for a health strengthening project. Is it ever possible that we have spent $54 million to upgrade our existing facilities? I beg the question. And as well, Madam President, has there been a change of heart by the current administration to finally, not humble, but take under advice the pleas and cries for social and economic relief programs that are sincere, that are two-sided, that are inclusive of everyone. We harp and say that the opposition party is a party of opposing and there's no ideas. And I heard the question, what is the opposition going to do? Are they going to suspend the SOE? Are they going to open up the country? Madam President, I contend that we have a sensible St. Lucia Labour Party and a very responsible party. But I reiterate, Madam President, that the simple measures outlined in the 7-point plan would have been very much on point relative to what obtains today. We are nowhere. We are stuck in neutral. We're not going anywhere. Refer to the statistics, Madam President. We are not going anywhere, not even with the vaccination. We know, we talk about herd immunity. To achieve herd immunity, the maths is very easy, Madam Speaker. Take a lower limit of 60%. At the moment, the scientists are wavering between 60, 70%. Let's go 60%. A population of 180,000. Madam President, this is 104,000. Quick maths. Are we, with all the talk of vaccine hesitancy, the absence of educational programs, nobody's convincing anybody as far as the merits of taking the vaccine. And realistically, we are going to say that we are going to achieve herd immunity. Madam President, I think we should take a different approach. As much as I would be hopeful, I volunteered, and so did everybody in the Parliament. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have all taken 2 shots of the vaccine. But we have to broaden the net, Madam President. We have to be the fisher of men. Herd immunity will not be possible using the approach that we are doing now. It's a tall order. 104,000 people to be vaccinated, not once but twice. And that is the prescription of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 2 jabs. Finally, Madam President, I will end by respectfully seeking your indulgence in delivering a short advisory to the entire government administration and their favorite guys. That for the period of 5 years prescribed for the national exam, that has now elapsed. It has now expired, it has run out, it has finished. If fini, you are all asked to put your pens down. What you have not answered or not done so far, admittedly, you will not be able to complete. The time is up. You may now leave the room in single file. Thank you. Long live the incoming St. Lucia Labour Party, the best bet to salvage our future as a united Helen. I thank you once again for your guidance and your patience, Madam President.
Senator, ministers of government in the Senate are honorable. Senators are senators. And me, I'm also honorable. And me.
I'll go. And I have to do something. So I don't want to tire myself.
Honorable Minister for Home Affairs, Justice and National Security.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank the previous senators who have welcomed me back. It's good to be back. And I want to also welcome Senator Mauricio Francis back to the chambers. I think you all missed us, and it's good to know that we were missed. So thank you very much. I am here to support the motion for the implementation of the state of emergency for 5 more months. The SOE was due to end on the 16th of May this year, and the Honorable Prime Minister came to the House to seek for an extension from the 17th of May to the 18th of October. The Honorable Prime Minister has explained the rationale for seeking the extension of the SOE until October 16th. But as usual, we have the doom and gloom of the opposition. And again, as usual, they are insisting that there are other sections of the law that allows you to deal with COVID and manage COVID without imposing an SOE. On many occasions, I have debunked that idea. We talked about the medical, we talked about the Quarantine Act, and all those were debunked. Today, they are now going on the sections of the COVID-19 Control Act and indicating that it is sufficient. Made reference to Section 5 and 6 about restaurants and other business places for the sale of alcohol and other things like this. Like if alcohol is such an important ingredient in our lives. But they are missing the point. The point of the SOE is to allow government to have a curfew. And this is a curfew we've had for the past few months. And it has shown that it is working. The numbers are going down, and as such, we need to continue to have this curfew. And what is the curfew? From 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. It has worked. But we have to go back in time and know what happened on the first occasion when we came to ask for an SOE. Remember clearly the attitude of the opposition that we are going to be giving the Prime Minister extreme powers and he was going to infringe on the rights and privileges of St. Lucians. After so many months, up to now we cannot get one indication or one example of the rights and freedoms of our people that have been infringed by the Honorable Prime Minister. I listened to an opposition member from Grosile, and I was tempted to seek to attempt to stop him, but I said no, let him continue. Because he also mentioned that, I think he wants to say something.
Madam President.
Oh, thank you, sorry about that.
Senator Sinclair?
Yes, I will intervene and ask that the Honorable Senator addresses me properly because I am not the senator from Lucia.
My apologies, but you're the senator and you're from Grosile. That's a fact. Okay, Senator. Well, if you don't want to be regarded because you were rejected for Grosile, then I apologize and I withdraw. And I withdraw. The Constitution, which was drafted before the 20th of December 1978.
Honorable Minister, I'm just saying Senator, he said Senator from, he didn't say for, nor representative.
Thank you.
And do I have a name, Madam President?
We don't address senators by names there, you know.
Yeah. Yes, Minister, is to be addressed by name as well.
Thank you very much.
But the objections seem to be about from Gruzile.
I agree. I apologize. No problem. But he's such my good friend. Sometimes I can't remember his name is St. Clair. I call him Skinny all the time. And I didn't want to call him that. So my apologies, Senator St. Clair. The Constitution gives every citizen and visitor to this country the protection of the Constitution. Chapter 1, and I want to read chapter 1 so that you can see and hear. Protection of fundamental rights and freedoms. And it goes on to talk about protection of right to life. But again, persons must understand that those protections are not absolute. There are other pieces of legislation that can subject you to some sort of scrutiny. So, a person shall not be deprived of his life intentionally, save in the execution of the sentence of a court, in respect of a criminal offense under any law of which he has been convicted. And so, a person is not regarded as having been deprived of his life in contravention of this section if he dies as a result of the use of such extent on such circumstances as permitted by law, and such force is reasonably justified in defense of a person and so on. So I'm saying so to indicate that our rights are not absolute rights, and that persons cannot, when in the need of good judgment and good governance, that some of your rights cannot be curtailed. We then had a subsequent imposition of the SOE. The same arguments were put in place. But we are doing extremely well before October 4th, where we saw our first surge. And that's incontrovertible. You can't deny that. That is what it is. But Christmas came about. And again, we were putting procedures in place, and the opposition said that we were being dictatorial, that we didn't want our people to come back from the United States and other places for Christmas. And there was a slight relaxation. Although the CMO and other members of the government implored and encouraged persons to follow the protocol, we saw what happened. We had in place the quarantine facilities where you had to pay money to go there. The opposition came out and said we didn't like our people and we are putting monies on them, and the persons are coming back on holidays. Where are they going to get the monies to stay at the hotels? And we relented and allowed persons to stay at home. What happened? Even when we advised them that they should follow the protocols at home, stay in for the 14 days before you can venture out, what happened? The CMO indicated and said that if we had not followed the protocols, we would have had a spike. And we saw the spike. We saw what happened. Number of persons died. To date, we have 74 on 48 St. Lucians who have lost their life. And then what happened? As usual, the opposition jumped on it and said we dropped the ball. Okay, that we shouldn't have done that. We should have kept the protocols and we should have done other things. But you must also remember that this is an opposition that from day one when we put in the first SOE was asking the government to close the country. Completely close the country. And it took the Honorable Prime Minister and some of the business persons in our society to say, no, you cannot shut the borders of St. Lucia. Otherwise, we will die. And the Prime Minister said there must be a correlation between the COVID. We have to coexist with COVID. And we have been doing that. But everything that this government does, there is opposition. You put in stringent protocols, it's bad. You relax, it's bad. What do we do? Madam President, they blame us for the spike and the number of deaths. They compared our death rate to the rest of the OECS, but failed, and that is where we are not being genuine, but have failed to talk about the underlying conditions that afflict the health of our people. We all know for a fact that issues like diabetes, hypertension, kidney failure plagues this country of ours. It was said that we are #1 in the world when it came to diabetes. And so we had this so-called Ambassador Jufali promising to give us money to have a diabetic center. Where is the diabetic center? Where is the money? Our present situation is beginning to look good. And there it is. They are pushing and pushing. So Bagaibo, relax. You go and you relax and it goes back up, they will blame you. Why did you relax? And so allow the government to function. We are now getting the results that on a weekly basis we may have about 120 cases, 130 cases, we get another 40 cases recovering, and things are doing well. It is because we have the curfew. The curfew is part of the process that that is helping us, and we must understand that. We need to say some prayers for our countries like India and Trinidad and other countries that are now going through the third and fourth waves. We cannot afford to have a third wave or fourth wave in St. Lucia. We cannot. The majority of the opposition were more interested in calling for elections, and that is what it is. That's the basis. But we are within the law. There is going to be an election. We cannot stop that. The only person that can stop that, or the entity that can stop that, is Jesus Christ, the God. It must come. We cannot stop it. But we are working with the Constitution. And I will come to the Constitution in a little while. Okay? And the leader of opposition business mentioned Section 50, 55 and 56. So I will go into it in a while. But even when you listen to the Lower House, you recognize that the emphasis was on election. Call the elections, call the elections. And call the elections at all cost. It does not matter. And like we say, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and suffer the loss of his own soul? So they don't care. Have elections, have your campaign and your rallies and so on. But I can tell you that the UWP people are even more eager to have rallies. And we will show you what is the power of the people. So don't believe we don't want rallies, but we understand that we cannot have the rallies because India did it and allowed people to go and do their religious and political activities. What is happening to India now? We have seen it. Look at Matnik. We saw the carnival and everything in Matnik. We have a particular surrogate of the Labour Party. He's a Matnikan, I think, and a St. Lucian, and he talks about Matnik all the time. Says Zusa Opatanni because Matnik Atwaka. Not hearing anything. And we have to see when our neighbors, you have to move this out. So let us try and be a little different in what we are doing. I must say, I want to take my hat off to, and you don't hear me say that all the time, but Dr. Kenny Anthony, for the different approach in his address in the Lower House. He recognized the difficulty of the COVID-19. He recognized the reluctance of our people to take the COVID vaccination. And he is saying that we as politicians, we as leaders, must take the lead and go out there and convince our people to take the vaccine. Educate our people, we agree. You must do that. When we have been doing that, we have been given all the information. And yesterday, and in fact on Tuesday when I saw Dr. Anthony, he actually took his smartphone and was able to give you figures about COVID-19. Okay? And so he quoted from Barbados, the very same thing happening again this morning. We all just are regurgitating what he's saying, but it's there. 154,000 Barbadians have been tested. Were they forced to be tested? Were they cajoled, or were they brought in by the SSU or the Marine unit or everything to go to be tested? They did it willingly. They recognized the importance of going and get tested, and they did it. We have been asking our people to do it, and Dr. Anthony is right. Let us continue to ask our people to go and get vaccinated. We do not force people. We have had statements by the Prime Ministers of St. Vincent, your colleague, Prime Minister from Antigua, and the Prime Minister from Trinidad and Tobago, indicating that you need to go and get vaccinated. And if you do not get vaccinated, there is going to be a price to pay. So like the Honorable Prime Minister in Trinidad said, you have to go and get vaccinated. If you do not get vaccinated and you get sick, you will have to see about yourself. Do we want to reach that stage? We cannot afford to do that. So Barbados has 154 persons who have been tested. They have 3,866 cases. Obviously, if they have been tested, okay, and they have been vaccinated, there are going to be less cases. 44 deaths. We have 74 deaths. You have 30 deaths more. Again, because Barbadians have the underlying circumstances that St. Lucians have. We do not know. We do not know. We then look at the ages of the persons who have died in St. Lucia. And I do hope when the Minister for Health is rebutting that she gives you the numbers. Persons that are between the ages of 64, 69, there are about 16 of them who have died. And as it goes higher, the more deaths. So we have had about 34 or 45 old people dying. Is it the old people that are going out and lying after 9 o'clock in the night? They are not the ones doing that. They are at home. And it's our young people who are bringing the virus into their houses. By going out there and not adhering to the protocols and going to their homes and giving these old people the virus. And at the end of the day, our old people are dying. We have to be more responsible. Dr. Anthony said so. The election does not belong to the government or the opposition. It belongs to the people, and I concur. The people will get the time to vote. And I do hope that some persons on the other side can handle the results. He then talked about Section 56. And again, the opposition senators have talked about elections, and the time for elections has passed, and put our pens down and walk out and all these other things. I will read Section 56, holding of elections. A general election of members of the House shall be held at such time within, and these are the operative words, within 3 months after any dissolution of Parliament as the governor may appoint. We know for a fact the election was June 6. The first sitting of the House was June 12. Check 90 days. July 12, sorry. Thank you very much. July 12. Check between the 12th of July and October 16th. How many months it is? 90 days. You within the Constitution. What is it that the Prime Minister and the government of St. Lucia is doing wrong? We are following the Constitution. But Dr. Anthony plays smart, and he still believes in his lecturing attitude that he's still at UE. So he tells us, let's look at Section 55.5. And Section 55.5 says, if after a dissolution of Parliament and before the holding of a general election of members of the House, the Prime Minister advises the Governor General that owing to the existence of a state of war or a state of emergency in St. Lucia, it is necessary to recall Parliament. The Governor shall summon Parliament that has been dissolved to meet, but unless the life of Parliament is extended under the provision of Section 3 of this section, the general election shall proceed. The general election shall proceed, and the Parliament that has been recalled shall, if not sooner dissolve, again stand dissolved on the date appointed for the nomination of candidates in the general elections. You think we are getting so much fight back?
Senator Sinclair.
Madam President, I beg your direction, because the Honorable Senator is himself proceeding to give us a lecture in the Constitution, and he is not sticking to the matters that are tabled here for discussion, i.e. the state of emergency.
On what order do you stand? On what order do you stand? Senator, unless you tie your submission on the Constitution and elections to the motion at hand.
Thank you, Madam President. And you see, sometimes that's why you have to be very draconian in the manner in which you do things. The senator got up and talked about 7-point plan and all these other things, and we allowed him to rattle, because I think that this parliament is a place where people need to be educated. So we allowed him to say what he had to say. I am talking about, and it was said in the House, you mentioned other things that the Prime Minister said, and I'm saying that this was mentioned in the House. Hansard can prove me right.
Senator,
and I also have a right to talk about the elections.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, Madam President.
You were not asked to stop. You were simply asked to tie it. You were not asked to stop.
Oh.
You were simply asked to tie it to the bill at hand. So proceed. You were simply asked to tie it to the bill at hand, to the motion at hand.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So please proceed.
I'm going back to the bill and motion there, because that is what I'm saying. When we brought in the first SOE, okay, there was no elections pending at this time. We got so much difficulty in dealing with this. There's so much distrust. There's so much animosity being caused out there by persons misdirecting the public, that now persons are taking out their stress on the police, they're taking it out on the wardens, they're doing everything. I am saying that this government is within the constitution of the law, and they must be allowed to proceed until such time. That is all I am saying. So I'm saying that under this section 55, with the difficulties engaged here, how do you think that this Prime Minister can call or dissolve the House and say 2 months down the line, there's an upsurge in the cases of COVID, that the Prime Minister will come back and get this House in order? You expect that to happen? When persons, just because you want to implement the SOE, comes out there and demonstrate and takes about 50 or 60 police officers who can be investigating crime, who can be solving other matters, who can be doing what they're supposed to do, to come and stop a demonstration. That is what we want in St. Lucia. So at the end of the day, it is there. We're going to have the elections. Okay? So their mantra is that people's first. We put it our people first. But they don't care that you're going to go through all these processes. And the St. Lucia Labour Party is very good at doing the campaigning. The amount of town hall, virtual town hall meetings you have seen, we haven't done one, we haven't done 2. So you're campaigning, we are doing nothing. But I think the idea for y'all is that because this government has worked so well, that the government must not do anything else. Just relax and allow you all to campaign. Because government have I tell ma wed, you have to tell ma bagay, zot pani po campaign. But we have to do our job, and this is what we're doing, and we'll continue to do it. I want to, before I end, just to say that sometimes, again, I wanted to stop the senator from what he was saying, because he was imputing ulterior motives or improper motives by saying that we have the extension to give contracts, and that the contracts can be given without scrutiny and so on. And that is very unfair and should not be said. And in your own mind, maybe your other senator, when she's speaking, she can apologize on your behalf for that. But we need to continue what we are doing. And I want to use my own personal experience with COVID. Okay? I mean, up to now, I don't know if I ever had it, because I have not had any symptoms. So they call it systematic. Yeah. I have never had anything. Okay? But unfortunately, I gave it to my dear wife, and she suffered. But I'm saying that because apparently we had taken the first dose of the vaccine, I think that helped her tremendously. And so I want to encourage all St. Lucians to go and get vaccinated. This COVID thing is real. It is real. And so all of us, opposition and government and independent senators and everybody else, we have to make a concerted effort of speaking to our people and telling the dangers of this COVID. We cannot force, or we do not want to force persons. We do not want to take the way in which St. Vincent, Antigua, and Trinidad is going, as to be able to force people to go and get the vaccination. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that everybody goes there willingly, understanding, especially if you have old parents, okay, older people in your household, that those are the persons more likely to die if they're infected. I want to end by wishing all mothers in St. Lucia a happy Mother's Day. But I want to also tell our other people, like especially our men, that it's not only on Mother's Day that we must take care of our mothers and treat them well. And so I want us to remember that, as far as I'm concerned, every day is Mother's Day. And I wish all mothers of St. Lucia a very happy feast on Sunday. But again, please remember to follow the protocols. Do not do like some of the surrogates of the Labour Party over the Christmas season when the thing will relax, to be partying in up north and then still coming on the radio, on television, and chastising people for not wearing masks or for not doing some of the things. So you have to be positive. You must lead by example. When you have the voice of a party or the voice of the people, you have to be an example. So don't say do as I say and don't do as I do. You have to do as I do. So again, I want to take this opportunity and thank you. It's good to be back in the Senate, and I do hope we continue to have these spirited discussions, because at the end of the day, it is for the benefit of our people. Thank you.
You see, you have a very good immune system, huh? Francis, you have a strong immune system.
Senator Polley.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise to join my colleagues on this side of the Honorable House to lend my full support to the extension of the state of emergency for an additional period of 5 months, commencing May 17th and expiring on October 16th, 2021, in accordance with Section 17(6) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101. Madam President, the coronavirus has not retired in its quest to destroy us and everything related to our human existence. It continues to threaten our health, send some of our loved ones to their graves ahead of time, and stifles economic growth. The emergence of new COVID-19 variants suggests that this enemy makes a deliberate decision to linger in a bid to cause more and more destruction. So as this virus evolves, and the health risks intensify, Madam President, this government, like many others in the region and across the globe, has an obligation to continue to take the necessary steps that are in the best interest of the people of St. Lucia. One of the steps, Madam President, is to utilize the facility provided by Section 7(6) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, paragraph B. And it reads, a resolution on the paragraph A may be extended from time to time by a further such resolution, each extension not exceeding 12 months from the date of the resolution effecting the extension, and such resolution may be revoked at any time by a further resolution. Madam President, this resolution can be revoked. And so I'm wondering, Madam President, whether the members opposite deliberately omit this part of the paragraph. The state of emergency is instituted, and some ask, Madam President, for the raison d'etre, the justification for it. Although the leader of government business mentioned it, I am going to reiterate. It is this legal instrument that allows the government of St. Lucia to institute or to impose a curfew. And why the curfew? It is to help safeguard the health of St. Lucians while we are still being devastated by the coronavirus. And so, Madam President, once there is evidence to satisfy the command center, the health professionals, the government of St. Lucia, that the curve has been adequately flattened and that there is no need for St. Lucia to maintain an active state of emergency status, this is going to be revoked. It will be revoked. So we must bear that in mind, Madam President. Notwithstanding the recovery efforts made thus far, and yes, we have seen a reduction, we have seen progress. Schools have reopened, students have gone back to school. We've seen an increase in airlift. Small businesses have reopened. Madam President, we must not forget that we are not out of the woods. We are still being threatened. And so it would not be prudent at this point, Madam President, to just relax and think that everything is okay. Madam President, as of yesterday, May 5th, out of a batch of 159 samples taken during the period May 2nd to 4th, and that information was released by the Ministry of Health, confirmation of 17 cases were reported and 1 COVID-19 related death, bringing the total now to 75. And on May 3rd, 13 persons were reported to have been tested positive. April 30th, 18 cases were reported. Too many. This tells us that COVID-19 is still lingering around us, and we need to be extremely careful. We need to be extremely cautious, and this government is doing the conscionable thing to protect, continue to protect the life and the health of the people of St. Lucia. My contribution today, Madam President, is one that is going to be a bit brief, unlike previous presentations. And so, Madam President, I want to appeal to St. Lucians. And for those persons who are not aware that the vaccine is being administered in certain communities, that they should take heed. The team of health professionals are administering the first dose and the second dose of the vaccine at the Entrepot Human Resource Center, the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds, the Mikud Multipurpose Center, and the Ancillary Parish Center. Madam President, I want to encourage the residents of these communities and environs to do the right thing. Go to the centers to be vaccinated. Too many people are still infected. Too many are dying. And I also want to say to them, Madam President, that if they are not sure whether they should take the vaccine, they should find out from the doctor. Our beloved St. Lucians, it is your responsibility, it is our responsibility to keep ourselves safe. It is in your best interest to take the vaccine as another level of protection from COVID-19 and its variants. So, Madam President, I want to commend the leader of opposition business for urging St. Lucians to hold on and to follow the protocols, for this is what we must do as parliamentarians, despite our political affiliations, to adopt a collective voice and to send out a unified message to the people of this country as it relates to battling this crisis. It is a health crisis, and we cannot run away from it. And like many others globally, we must fight it head on. Madam President, on behalf of this government, I want to thank everyone, including the members opposite, for the numerous sacrifices they have made. Their compliance with the COVID-19 prevention and control regulations, their bravery and willingness to be vaccinated, as we all continue to perform our civic duty in ensuring the safety of self and others. Madam President, we are of the conviction that the time will come when COVID-19, like many other previous pandemics, will become a thing of the past. But until such time, we remain resolute to the cause by putting and safeguarding the health of the sons and daughters of this country first. With this, Madam President, I end my contribution, but also lend full support to the motion being tabled today. I thank you.
Senator Jawa here.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, fellow colleague senators. Good afternoon. If you would kindly permit me just a moment, I wish to extend condolences to our former Senator Joachim Henry and his family, who just buried their son, Josimar. He was laid to rest this week, and as I watched the funeral service, I was deeply moved. I cannot begin to imagine the pain that they are going through right now, but through you, Madam President, I just want to let them know that we are all praying for them and hope they find strength in this extremely difficult time. Also, if you permit me, I wish to extend every mother present here, every mother in St. Lucia and in the diaspora, a happy Mother's Day. Madam President, I am always thankful for an opportunity to share my views where I try as best as I can to capture the views of the people who otherwise would not have an opportunity to share their concerns today. We are here to debate a further extension to the state of emergency for an additional 5 months, ending on October 16, 2021. Now, Madam President, a state of emergency in itself would need to be implemented in extreme circumstances according to our Constitution. And of course, us citizens would have an appreciation for the need of a state of emergency, provided that substantial information is distributed to the population. But Madam President, it is not just me, but the people of St. Lucia have great difficulty understanding the need for the extension for an additional 5 months, when just last week, the Chief Medical Officer and the Minister of Health expressed that we were doing well with the management of the virus. But here we are, Madam President, and I'm wondering why. But the people of St. Lucia, we just have one question. And I do believe that every decision made on behalf of our country should be made on some basis, on some form of measurement or indicators. And so I would ask this question: what indicators influence the extension of the state of emergency for an additional 5 months? I listened very attentively to the leader of government business, but could not ascertain a rationale that is substantial enough for us to understand. So far, we have just heard that the reason for extending the state of emergency is because we need to extend the curfew. But we are doing so well, Madam President. The Minister of Tourism, when the lower house met the day before, said that we have a total of 15 variant cases in St. Lucia. And that's from since last year. We haven't had any recent variant cases, I guess, but we still need to extend the SOE. A few days ago, we learned that the contract period of hiring of about 200 young persons, the COVID wardens as we know them, has come to an end. So after a few months, we have no need for the wardens, but we still need to extend the state of emergency. Madam President, if all 200 wardens were hired to strengthen our efforts to fight COVID-19, why isn't there a conversation, or why hasn't there been a conversation about the renewal of their contracts? Initially, we were told that the wardens were hired to supplement the efforts of the police, so that the police officers themselves could focus on more serious crime. And the senator opposite also attested to that just now. That was the reason. But we are doing so well. We don't need the wardens anymore, but we still need to extend the state of emergency. Madam President, one would naturally deduce that we are indeed doing well. If the wardens are no longer needed, there are no more variant cases of the virus, and yes, we now have a travel bubble, the St. Lucia designated travel bubble, which includes Antigua, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, and others. The government has lessened the restrictions on travelers coming into St. Lucia. So this means that we are doing well. So why are we here to extend the state of emergency? Madam President, on April 28th,
Honorable Minister.
Madam President, I stand on a point of elucidation. The senator has asked a question up in her speech, and as the minister with responsibility for Home Affairs, I think I'm entitled to give her an explanation.
Proceed, Minister.
Okay. Let me just... Yes, thank you very much. Madam President and other senators, I think I didn't speak on my time at the podium, and I must try to put the mind of the senator at ease. This project was a 7-month project, and because it was so successful that we had to be getting funds to be able to do that. Presently it has come to an end, but the government is actively looking for the finances in ways of like savings, because there are positions that where the police has to employ more police officers, more fire officers, and so on. But we have recognized the importance of the COVID wardens, and so we are making the relevant allocations available so that they can be paid. We don't want to have persons employed and 2-3 months down the line you're not paying them. We want to make sure that we pay them every month like any other civil servant. So this is the reason why the project has been shelved for a little while, but we intend to continue. Thank you.
Senator Jawahi.
Thank you, Madam President, and I will certainly address what the Senator just presented in a few moments. Madam President, on April 28th, which was last week Wednesday, we were told that the Prime Minister traveled to Barbados for 1 day to attend high-level meetings. But according to the designated travel bubble, Barbados was not yet listed as a country in that bubble until 2 days later when he returned. Now, Madam President, I did not know that the Prime Minister was excluded from following the law where he would need to be quarantined upon return. I did not know. But instead, and much to my surprise, I noticed him dancing at an FFF event, Fire Flubbo Friday, and with no mask, just having returned from Barbados, and we talk about leading by example. This Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, said, and I quote, "In an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19, a person shall wear a mask of suitable covering over his or her mouth." But in that FFF event, you saw none of this, because there are rules that apply to one set of persons and rules that apply to another. But I'll move on. Interestingly enough, you hear that Barbados has now been added to the travel bubble after the fact, but there was still no quarantine period for the Prime Minister. Madam President, the Prime Minister also said a few days ago that our vulnerability to a virus still raging will increase. Okay, but we have no more wardens, and the minister just said that we are looking for additional financing, and I really have to ask, with the $500 million, nearly $500 million, with a capital B that we have come here so far for COVID, there is still no financing to support the wardens? But I can understand, because it has been admitted that the country is broke. Madam President, in one breath, we hear that we are doing well with managing COVID so far, so travel restrictions are lessened. But in another breath, we need to extend the SOE. Is it because we are really not doing well? I don't know, so I have to ask this question because one was not provided. If we are so concerned about our people, why aren't we strengthening our efforts to help curb the spread to fight the virus if certain restrictions are being lifted where our borders are concerned? But our people will still have to endure this curfew for an additional 5 months. Madam President, you know who will feel this? The young people who have had absolutely no psychological support so far, being faced with circumstances that they have never experienced before. And we see that crime has gone to an all-time high. During this period, we have to ask ourselves, what is the cause of that? We have not seen any psychological support at all. Madam President, since March 2020, businesses have had to shut down entirely for months because they were non-essential. You remember that? losing an opportunity to gain thousands of dollars in revenue. Some non-essential businesses reopened, but many still could not thrive. And as we know, there are thousands of restaurants and bar owners, taxi drivers, bus drivers, small business operators whose operations continue into the night. And for them, it makes absolutely no sense to open at 5 o'clock. You have to cook, you have to set up, then break down, pay staff, and close at 8 o'clock because they have to get home for 9. Only 2 hours. So they will not be able to sustain, Madam President. It would have been better served if the government came here today to extend the state of emergency based on such and such, because we have not seen the facts or statistics or science to prove to us why that is needed. It has not been laid here. And in addition, any form of support to the businesses who have suffered in the last 90 days and who may very well be suffering in an additional 5 months. But we saw none of that here. We are just being asked, Madam President, to extend the state of emergency for an additional 5 months. Nothing to cushion the burden, not even that. But I really want, through you, Madam President, to take a moment to commend Senator Ogier, who recently hosted a fundraiser to support a young man in the music industry, a young man who needed some sort of funding to go to school. We are seeing that our individuals here, private citizens are doing that. But we are yet to see any support from the government, who promised earlier this year that there will be some sort of economic relief that will be a direct intervention to support our people. We have not seen it. But all we see to offer St. Lucia is tell our people that we need to extend the state of emergency for an additional 5 months. Our people deserve better than what is passing for government right now. Madam President, the truth is the 9 p.m. curfew has only benefited some businesses, as I explained earlier. And there are others who are still waiting on that economic relief because they need assistance to pay their bills. When I walk the streets, Madam President, I am constantly met with concerns of fear and hopelessness as people of St. Lucia think that restrictions are lessened for everyone else but for us. Our borders have opened a bit more, but we are still at home. No work, no opportunity, no social interaction. Because when you leave work, it's already 9 o'clock, it's already 8 o'clock. All you have to do is just go home. We still have not seen any support from the government. But Madam President, I'll move on. As of today, we are at 74 COVID-19 deaths. And 75, thank you. Wow, imagine that. I look at this motion before us to extend the SOE, and I think, what about the measures that we have been hearing for about almost a year? Are they not working? Because if they are not working, I can understand the need for a state of emergency. And speaking of these measures, Madam President, I just want clarification on one thing. Whatever happened to the contact tracing app that was launched at the beginning of March, along with the bio stickers and trackers? Because I encourage my friends and my families to download the app. And up until yesterday, I tried, but it is not working. Madam President, I have also spoken to persons who came to St. Lucia, and they told me that they were not even told about the app. Furthermore, some who received the sticker said they have not even gotten a call from a health official to follow up on them during or after quarantine. Not my words, but them. Madam President, according to the COVID-19 response website, contact tracing is the cornerstone of preventative medicine and a public health strategy in reducing the rate of transmission of a disease. But we don't get calls from health officials anymore. And is contact tracing even happening? And last Senate sitting, I did give my own experience when I spoke about the passing of my grandfather due to COVID. We never got a call up to now. You see, Madam President, it does not make sense to me, and I can only imagine for the persons who are viewing at home. I have given many reasons why, as an ordinary citizen, how the SOE will have a tremendous impact on the lives and livelihoods of our people who are already feeling that state of hopelessness. But even with all of that, and with all that has been said by my colleague senators on this side, the government still cannot come up with a plausible explanation on why the extension is needed. What also will be provided to cushion that blow to persons, individuals, companies, private citizens who will be feeling this for another 5 months? Furthermore, Madam President, we learned yesterday that we are preparing for the reopening of the cruise sector in a few weeks, that the Prime Minister left to engage cruise officials. I just have a question. What measures will be put in place to accommodate those passengers? Because I don't think they will be staying on the boats. Will they be doing tours? Will they be permitted to walk through castries and support our local vendors who can finally make a bread? How do we intend to keep our vendors safe? What measures will be put in place for the taxi drivers? Madam President, I have had conversations with taxi drivers, I have had conversations with vendors, and they will tell you that in relation to the cruise sector reopening in a few weeks, there has absolutely been no consultation with them. Madam President, this is very concerning because we want our people to be prepared. The last thing we want is an influx of passengers, and we are not ready to facilitate them, and we have another outbreak on our hands. No one wants that, especially when the management of COVID-19 has been extremely poor. There has been little to no contact tracing, and now there is a significant delay in establishing herd immunity because we are unable to acquire the vaccines that we need at this time. Madam President, I hope the members on the other side have understood my concerns and have understood the deficiencies that I have pointed out with the explanation so far in why we need to extend the SOE. I also urge the government to work quickly on vaccinating that 75% of our population and keep their promise to the people on the direct intervention that they said they were going to provide. Because it really is tough. It's tough for all of us, Madam President. It's not just me who's lost my clients. It's not just the vendor. It's not just the taxi driver, the bus driver, the fisherman, the farmer. It's every single St. Lucian who has suffered in one way or the other, whether it be financial or psychological, where they have felt the impact of COVID-19. So, Madam President, with this, I hope that the next member on the other side who comes to speak after me, or perhaps in the Leader of Government Businesses rebuttal, that she can provide, or they can provide, a substantial reasoning as to why we should support this SOE today. Thank you.
Honorable Minister responsible for Culture and Creative Industries.
Thank you, Madam President.
Your mic, Minister.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, Madam President, I've listened to the debate to date, and I've also listened intently to what our colleagues on the other side have to say. And it really appears to me that those opposites have no understanding, you understand, and are still trivializing the coronavirus. They do not understand that the most effective way to fight a disease, basic, is prevention. Prevention is better than cure. That's what we know. That's what we learn in school. And this is very, very basic. You see, Madam President, those opposite are seeing everything with a political eye. Not reality, but with a political eye. And in the style of politics, Madam President, I must say this, in the style of politics, they focus on preventing government from succeeding. And so the strategy has failed them because this is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And so they cannot even see the relevance of prevention, you understand, being better than cure in our fight against this virus. You're so bent on destroying that you not focus on understanding that prevention is better than cure when it comes to managing a disease. We're managing a disease. Madam President, the state of emergency is the most effective means of combating and containing the spread of the virus here. This is because it gives us as planners the latitude or elasticity to be able to pull or push back if we have to as we attempt to manage this virus. As citizens of St. Lucia, we all know that our natural instinct, natural and cultural instincts are for us to congregate and reduce social distance at every opportunity. We love each other, we want to hug, we want to kiss, we want to fet, you know, and when we're in the company of people, after dark, we let go. You know, we let go. We let our guards down. And that is what the virus thrives on. That is what the virus loves. And so what I hear from those opposite is what we know for the last 50 years. 50 years. You know, I've been on this earth pretty close to 60, well, 60, you know. But what I hear from the opposition is what we've heard for the last 50 years. That they are incapable of understanding the reality, or comprehending the reality. They are incapable of being proactive. They cannot switch gears. They are stuck in mode. They cannot innovate. They cannot create. And so they cannot adopt or adapt to this new environment. And how do I know this, Madam Chair, Madam President? How do we know this? They demonstrated that very clearly when they organized their march in the middle of COVID. They were given approval, fine, but they were so blinded. They stuck to a plan with no appreciation and flexibility of the dynamics of this new environment. Madam President, I'm tempted to buy into the reality that their plan was inadvertently destructive to them. They didn't even know what they were doing. You know, they were not aware of the gravity of the problem they were going to create for themselves, let alone our country, when they organized this march. You see, Madam President, the plan was so, you know, and I have to laugh every time, you know, I look at this whole thing. You see, the plan was so centered on the tunnel vision philosophy. And that philosophy of being victim and blaming, that nothing else was relevant to them. Their vision was blurred and continues to be blurry. How can you present yourselves as a viable opposition or a future government of this country if you're demonstrating consistently your ability or your inability to envision and to make adjustments in your planning? A simple match, you couldn't get it right. A simple match, given protocols, you couldn't get it right. And you want all kinds of, you have all kinds of blaming going around. Madam President, I'm so happy today that the people of St. Lucia are responding. To date, we have 6,000 people who have already taken their second shot. And I know in the community of Castries East, in Marsha today, people are going out, you understand, to take their shot. And that's what we as leaders must do. We must encourage citizens to go out and do what is right and take their shot. And every one of us in here should be encouraging that. Not some, all of us as senators, as responsible people within this environment. Madam President, I shudder to think what would have happened to our country when I listened to those opposite. Really. You all talk about elections. and Madam, I must go there. I hope that the St. Lucia public punish those opposite for making those sarcastic and irrelevant remarks around our country's success at managing COVID. The people of St. Lucia will demonstrate to the opposition how we handle it. We are all proud of who we are. And yes, it is sad that 75 people have died. It's sad. It is sad. It is sad. And we are attempting to ensure it does not continue. That's why we're doing what is right. That's why we're instituting the state of emergency to continue to assist us in managing. We have to control the spread, and that is one of the ways to control the spread. That's what we're doing. Prevention is better than cure. And we need to push harder, Madam President. We need those who can inspire us, or we need people who can inspire us to be a part of that process with us and to help us elevate our game. Not those who hover around negativity, not those who consistently demonstrate a lack of patriotism, and not those who claim that St. Lucia is the worst prepared or not prepared and things are failing. That's not what we want. Not in our society. That's not what we want. We want people who can help us live and get it right. You know? So we need that state of emergency, Madam President. We need it for a fundamental reason, for just in case people don't know. Prevention is better than cure. And the state of emergency allows us that opportunity to be able to work within a framework that most of our citizens can be happy and free to participate in our nation building. I want to take this opportunity, Madam President, to extend a great Mother's Day weekend to everyone, and of course to encourage the ladies in here, all the mothers in here, including yourself, Madam President, to have a fantastic Mother's Day. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Thomas Francis.
Thanks, Madam President. Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm happy to be back. Madam President, I would like to thank fellow colleagues for the kind words of welcome. And I must say, I missed the last sitting. Madam President, since my last attendance in this honorable House, there's been some adversities which require my sympathies. Thus, before I proceed with my contribution on the resolution, I seek your indulgence so to do. Do I have it, Madam?
Permitted.
Thank you. Madam President, our sovereign head, Queen Elizabeth II, lost her consort Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, and Prince of Wales, who was laid to rest recently. My sympathies go out to the entire family, the entire royal family. My condolences also go to our former colleague, Senator Joachim Henry, and his family on the passing of their beloved son, brother, nephew, cousin, and the rest. The families of the 75 citizens who lost their lives due to COVID-19 related complications, Madam President, also deserve my sympathy. The families and friends of the number of citizens who have lost their lives through other causes, especially homicides, may the Almighty God shower them with the blessings of strength and comfort
May he soothe their pain, as I'm acutely aware of the painful and cruel nature of death. Needless to say, Madam, the pain of death of a loved one resonates with me deeply. Madam President, with your leave also, I would also like to take this opportunity to extend love and light to the citizens of our sister island, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as they go through and the struggles of the adversity that befell them. I am very heartened that as a parliament we are showing our support and solidarity through a donation, and I am very happy that I have been given the opportunity to contribute. Thank you, Madam. Madam, if I may also, I am aware that my constituents were looking forward to my contribution to the budget debate. A number of them called me to express that. And I would like to say to them and assure them that my absence was by no way a demonstration of my neglect of the responsibility entrusted in me to represent their interests in this honorable house. I thank them once again for this honor and privilege. Over the past 4 years, I have advocated fiercely for the economic and social programs which would create value for them. If I may, legislative reforms, land use, minimum wage, domestic violence, economic diversification, health sector reform, fiscal prudence, specifically debt management, etc. And I assure them that I will continue in that vein for as long as I have the opportunity to do so. I thank you, Madam. I now turn my attention to the resolution at hand, which proposes 5-month extension of the current state of emergency to expire on the 16th of October 2021. Madam, the rationale for the proposed extension seems cogent based on the explanation given by the leader of government business. However, there is a sense of mistrust by the citizenry generally, certainly those that I have engaged, as to the authenticity and real intent behind this decision to extend for 5 months. There seems to be a general lack of trust, and citizens are questioning the motives behind the proposed extension, Madam President. As they put it, they do not trust the government due to the fact that this is the longest extension which has been proposed since COVID-19. Madam President, they've also told me that elections are imminent and the extension falls outside the deadline. The deadline of the extension falls outside the deadline within which this important constitutional exercise has to be effected. Madam, albeit it has been explained, and I heard the Prime Minister explain, that notwithstanding the length of time proposed, requests can be made to the Governor General to revoke at a time when needed to effect elections, or of course for any other reason. But Madam, the mistrust is there. We cannot help it. That's what the people are saying to me, so I felt it necessary to explain it. Also, they are saying, Madam President, the statement of affairs is being, the state of emergency story. I'm saying statement of affairs because, you know, banking is part of my DNA. So the state of emergency is being extended at a time when we have significantly reduced numbers of active cases. The critical issue, therefore, Madam, is lack of trust. And I will speak on the subject of trust later, Madam, if you permit me. Before I continue, let me just reiterate where we are for the benefit of the viewers, the benefit of the listeners. We are told that we have 107 active cases, total cases 4,602. We have experienced 4,415 recoveries. We have vaccinated in excess of 24,000 citizens. And of course, we have a target of 108 to achieve herd immunity. And of course, 24,000 plus takes us to around 23% of that target, Madam President. 75 of our citizens have lost their lives due to COVID-related complications. Madam President, we must all agree that we are all woefully at risk as long as we continue to have active cases in our country. And we will continue to be at risk unless we achieve herd immunity. And even after we achieve herd immunity, I'm being told, Madam President, if my understanding is correct, that vaccination does not prevent one from getting COVID-19. Therefore, even after we are vaccinated, we still have to observe the protocols. So, Madam President, the authorities have employed significant resources, financial and technical, to ensure we achieve this welcomed progress. And of course, the leader of government business articulated the details of the investments that have been made. We cannot deny that our health professionals have worked tirelessly, and some of them have gone over and beyond the call of duty in the process of getting us where we are today. I take this opportunity once again to commend them and to thank them on behalf of all the citizens of this country and to implore them to continue the good work. Madam, we could not have achieved this progress without the compliance of many of our citizens, and we must extend profound gratitude to them as well. There are people who are observing the protocols, and there are people who are committed to ensuring that we achieve better results and that we are able to get out of the situation that we are in sooner. I also implore the citizen to take all appropriate actions to ensure that we mitigate the risk of further spread. In other words, I implore them to continue, or those who are following protocols to continue to do so, and those who are not, I implore them to maintain focus on maintaining the desired protocols. We are not out of the woods yet, Madam President. We are far from it. It is therefore government's responsibility to ensure that appropriate measures and strategies continue to be devised and employed to achieve the desired objectives. Objectives to ensure the right balance between lives and livelihoods. It is an extremely challenging balance, we must admit, but a balance that is necessary. It is in our best interest as a citizenry to cooperate with the authorities towards ensuring that we achieve the health targets, which in essence will ensure greater success in the preservation of livelihoods. Madam President, the impact of COVID-19 on the health sector is without doubt huge. And again, I acknowledge the tremendous efforts which government have made to improve on healthcare in St. Lucia, especially since COVID. In that regard, we must be thankful for the generosity and benevolence of the multilateral organizations in providing us with much needed funding to enable us to make those investments. As the Prime Minister stated, Madam President, health is wealth. We cannot deny, if we do not have a healthy nation, we cannot accumulate wealth in any sustainable way. This should not just be a cliche, but the desired priority must be given towards ensuring the preservation of lives continue to be given the deserving priority. 75 deaths, as I said, are too many. Any death is just too many, Madam President. I'm sure you will agree. In order to continue to preserve lives, Madam President, we need to increase our COVID-19 testing capacity. And we heard conversations about that in the House today. It is a must that we increase that capacity. We have to invest in speedy vaccination of most of the population, and more swiftly, vaccination of the entire population. Like I said, although we've been advised that vaccination will not prevent COVID-19, but it will prevent death. So therefore, it makes sense to preserve lives, we have to get vaccinated. All of us citizens must cooperate by strictly observing protocols again, and or responding positively to the vaccination efforts. While we have made investments in healthcare, Madam, we must all admit that there is still a huge gap in the quality of healthcare on island, and it is expected that robust efforts will continue to be made to close those gaps which currently exist. Citizens, as we know, are entitled to access top quality healthcare. It is a right. As mentioned before, a well-functioned hospital must have adequate human capital, doctors, nurses, medicines, and must also have critical supplies, equipment that are functioning, equipment that are reliable, Madam President. The government's effort must continue to be focused on relentlessly in order to attain the optimal level of healthcare. Madam President, and in that regard, sorry to mention St. Jude's, but I think we need to continue to mention St. Jude's, and we are looking forward to the progress of that project such that we can bring it to a stage of completion where, you know, our people in the south of the island can benefit from improved health care. There are some urgent challenges at the OKEU and VH. Recent adverse reports of incidents at both of these hospitals are a source of grave concern to many citizens, and quite rightly so, Madam President. Madam, when issues of the nature which we heard of recently come to the fore, let us avoid being defensive. There's a lot of defensive energy when issues come up. And if we're talking about issues of health care, and our family members and loved ones are suffering because, you know, they are not getting the right experience when we go to our health facilities, we need to avoid being defensive, Madam President. Instead, we have to carry out the necessary investigations, take corrective measures, and keep the citizens informed as to what the real issues are and how and when resolution will be effected, Madam. This must be done proactively and honestly, Madam President. We spoke about honesty and trust a while ago. We have to be honest to gain trust. Our people deserve it. Our people are expecting it. And I think it's their right to experience trust and honesty. Madam President, extension of the state of emergency have implications for the citizenry, both in terms of civil liberties and impact of their livelihoods. While citizens are required to adapt, overcome, persevere, and be resilient, the level of diversity which naturally exists means that different people, depending on their social circumstances, social and economic circumstances, have different capacity to attain these goals, regardless of how essential they are in this climate. Some people just do not have it, Madam President. They just do not have it and they need help. Lots of our citizens are in dire economic straits. They cannot meet cost of their daily meals, their utilities, their commitments, their health care. Health care, Madam President, I can tell you health care is expensive. A test, to get a scan done, to get an x-ray done, you need to fork out over $1,000. A lot of our citizens don't have it, Madam President. To get blood work done, Madam President, it can cost an average of $500 depending on what the test is, Madam President. So, you know, we have those issues, Madam, and implementation of universal health care, which I'm eagerly looking forward to, and I think a lot of the citizens are looking forward to, and quite rightly so, will alleviate a lot of those
Senator, I
issues.
remind you the bill is about state of emergency.
Yes, Madam President, I'm making the link. I'm going to be making the link. Madam President, the extension of the state of emergency will continue to create constraints for our citizens. Constraints from an economic perspective. And Madam President, I'm not telling tales out of high school. The situation is real from an economic perspective. A while ago I mentioned to you people have difficulties meeting their bills. Why are they having those difficulties, Madam President? A lot of them operate SMEs. They operate in SMEs and those small businesses, a number of them have been closed since March 2021. a lot of SMEs related to the tourism sector, Madam President. While the sector is open and the large hotels have received certification to be able to receive tourists, the tourists go out, but they go out in a selective way. They are not out on the road where our citizens, a number of our SMEs are able to capitalize and benefit from the tourist industry at this time. So it's creating a lot of pressure, Madam President. It is creating a lot of pressure on them. Extension of the SOE, as I said, they have implications for the citizenry, both in terms of the liberties and economic, their economic welfare as well. So, Madam President, I just want to let you know that I'm not telling tales out of high school, as I said. I have investment in the tourism sector myself, and my business has not opened for months, and there are still commitments to be met. It's a tourism-related business, but certification has not been granted such that the tourists can come and patronize the business. And a lot of businesses are in that situation, Madam President. Some people can cope because they have the financial wherewithal to cope, but there are many, many, many who might engage on a daily basis, and they are struggling. Some of them will not even reopen their businesses, Madam President, because they do not have the capacity to reopen their businesses. So the state of emergency, while it is important, we must admit and accept the implications it has for, and the constraints it creates for the small business sectors, a number of them to be able to operate and benefit from some level of income to meet their livelihoods. And this is not a joke. Madam President, there must therefore be a desperate thrust to get our economy back up and running to alleviate the economic and social plight of our country. To achieve this again, the ball is in our court as citizens. We must observe the protocols, and I will reiterate that. We must observe the protocols. That ball is in our court. Madam President, I do appreciate that the situation that exists now have citizens on edge. People are impatient. They are unusually aggressive. They are intolerant. They are anxious, and their anxieties are real. Madam President, in recent times, we have witnessed the ugly confrontation between the law authorities and some of our citizens due to breach of protocols. There is need for improvement in the relationship between our law authorities and the citizens, because the confrontation is not healthy, Madam President. And the state of emergency in and of itself, because of the constraints and restrictions, people might continue to be anxious and stressed, such that they need the encouragement, they need the education, and they need there to be a sort of harmonious relationship such that they can comply with the protocol, such that they can be more relaxed so we can achieve our objectives. There is, the recent escalation in crime, which has resulted in some senseless murders, in some cases, is a cause of tremendous concern, Madam President. Lawlessness abounds, like I said. This situation is not tenable and has reached intolerable levels. A lot of citizens are complaining about the level of crime and the level of lawlessness. People want to take the law into their own hands. You know, we have police officers trying to control, to make sure that we observe protocols, and people are taking the law into their own hands. So citizens are becoming very uneasy about that situation. And of course, with the state of emergency, like I said, I do hope, you know, that people can quiet down and we can see an improvement in that regard. Madam President, it is unfortunate, you know, while we have to extend the state of emergency by 5 more months, it's unfortunate that the government had relaxed some of the protocols in December, given government had relaxed some of the protocols in December, allowing voluntary curfew. But unfortunately, because of indiscipline, Madam President, our people did not manage it well, and we saw the highest spike in cases in January. So while we might have issues with the state of emergency and the constraint on civil liberties, at the end of the day, something has to be done to ensure that at the end of the day, we bring the situation under control. So, Madam President, I implore our citizens to be more disciplined. I also implore our law authorities to conduct themselves in a manner which is becoming, a manner which is in line with their role to serve and protect, and to avoid getting into confrontation with our citizens. Madam President, in that regard, we have to ensure at all times, or the authorities have to ensure, government must ensure that there is equity in the dispatch of justice. Timely, justice must be timely, it must be swift, and there must be equity. And of course, as leaders, we need to lead by example. Crime and the attendant need for security is a significant cost to our economy and to the society. We must focus on crime prevention and a swifter process to deliver justice and rehabilitation. The wheels of justice must spin with lightning speed, as justice delayed is justice denied. Madam, we have too many prisoners on remand, as we have quite rightly said. Every effort must be employed to deal with with this situation, and the scourge must be encouraged and supported. Investment in equipment, in human capital, recruitment and development, crime prevention and detection will be money well spent. I noted that the government planned, in fact, the Prime Minister articulated in the last budget that some investments will be made in that regard, and this must be supported by all. Yes, Madam President. So there must be fairness, there must be equity, as these are fundamental to ensure that there is trust. If there's no trust, trust erodes confidence. Our people are saying that they do not trust the country's leaders. We've reached that stage, Madam President. They do not trust the country's leaders. They do not trust politicians. They do not trust doctors. They are saying that, Madam President. They do not trust doctors. They do not trust lawyers. You know, and it is disheartening, Madam President. We must work towards rebuilding trust in our country. Trust promotes unity, as we know, and social solidarity. So it is a priority that we must focus on as a country. Madam President, a good place to start to rebuild the trust is communication, the way we communicate. Communication is very, very important in the whole thrust to build trust and to build confidence. Communication must be concise, clear, unambiguous, honest, consistent, accurate, complete, and considerate. Madam President, it must be empathetic, sympathetic, and inspiring and uplifting. Madam President, if I may say, how did we communicate the need for us to extend the state of emergency by 5 months? I listened to parts of the presentation in the lower house, Madam President. I listened to the Prime Minister presenting the rationale for the extension. I listened to our leader of government business here presenting the rationale for the state of emergency. Madam President, when we communicate as leaders, I believe we have a responsibility to do so in all the various aspects that I spoke about. The last thing we want is to leave people open to perceive things. We have to anticipate what the people might be thinking. We have to anticipate what information they would require. We have to anticipate how the message is going to land, and make sure we give enough information such that we avoid ambiguity and that the meaning, the correct meaning of our message is conveyed. Madam President, the right meaning of the SOA was not conveyed. And that is why we had so much debate in the lower house, and of course we are continuing the debate here, because this is simple. This could have been a simple resolution. We could have left here maybe 2 hours ago, because it's simple. However, when people are suspicious, when they do not trust, when they do not understand, you know, they have perceptions. What could we have said? We know that elections are imminent, Madam President. We know that for a fact. We know that we have a timeline, or timelines for that matter, constitutional timelines that we have to meet. We have an SOE extending beyond those constitutional timelines. Madam President, a simple message would have been to stand in the House and tell citizens, in explaining the rationale to the citizens, explain to the citizens why, what, how. So a lot of the questions that were asked would not have been asked. And a lot of the debate and wrangling that went on would have been avoided. Madam President, in other words, point devant avant devant point, là nous communicate. Point devant avant devant point, meaning, Madam President, be proactive. Anticipate the questions. Anticipate the perceptions. Sometimes we say they perceive and it's okay for them to perceive. Madam President, but perception is reality. Good leaders know that their success depends on their ability to deal with reality as well as perception. My perception becomes my reality. So if it is you are telling me that your motive for extending the state of emergency for 5 months is because of X, Y, and Z, and I perceive differently, anticipate my perception and come to tell me truly, why is it we extending for 5 months? I believe in the communication, Madam President, we should have, sorry, my battery is running low, Madam President. In communicating, we should have addressed the whole issue of the imminent elections. And I think all the wrangling and all the confusion that we've had and all the discussion and extended discussions would have been avoided. So, Madam President, communication is key. How we communicate. And people would have been more trusting. As leaders, we must be careful not to send mixed messages and inconsistent messages to our citizenry. A decline in or lack of confidence and trust affect the pace with which we succeed as a country in our thrust to return to normalcy. And of course, that goes with good communication, which our leaders must ensure that is focused upon, because leaders must inspire confidence, hope, and trust. Madam, from a tourism perspective, our source market must be comfortable with our management of the COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia in order to relax their own protocols. USA has recently placed St. Lucia on a travel advisory. Our collective efforts will ensure that this is lifted and ensure also that the investor confidence in St. Lucia is not eroded. While the road ahead is going to be tough for a long time, let us commit to controlling the pace of recovery by doing what is in our sphere of control. What is in our sphere of control is making sure we observe the protocols. Our lives, livelihoods, and that of our families depend on it. Madam President, finally, if you permit me, I mentioned elections. We are approaching upcoming elections. I want to ask that we exhibit patience, tolerance, respect of each other's political views and persuasions. This is a democratic right, Madam President. Madam, we have reached a stage where there is voter apathy. Just from talking to people, there's voter apathy, especially among the swing voters, Madam President. People are saying that they are not attracted to either side, and they're not sure if they are going to vote. Voting is important. Voting is a democratic right, Madam President, and people must vote.
Senator,
Yes, Madam President?
the bill is on the state of emergency.
Yes, Madam, I'm making the link. Madam President, I should hope that there will be some time to make the difference and regain the trust of the voting public, and I implore our leaders, candidates, and the citizenry to exercise decency, decorum, and tolerance during the season. Mutual respect is an imperative, and Madam President, with mutual respect, whether we extend the state of emergency by 1 week, or by 2 weeks, or by 5 weeks, mutual respect, effective communication, trust will ensure that at the end of the day, we meet our objectives. May God bless our country, and may God bless the citizens of our country, Madam President. I thank you for your tolerance and for your patience, and I also thank you for your indulgence, Madam President.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Madam President. I beg to move a motion to suspend this honorable House for 1 hour for lunch, Madam President.
Senators, the question is that the sitting of the Senate be suspended for 1 hour for lunch. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
The sitting of the Senate for today, Thursday, 6th of May, 2021, has just been broken for a lunch, 1 hour of lunch, and they will resume within an hour's time for the afternoon session. The debate continues. Of course, the pin was stuck into midway of the debate on the petition coming to the upper house for the extension of the state of emergency for an additional 5 months, beginning on the 17th of May 2021 and ending on the 16th of October 2021. We so far heard contributions coming from Senator Terence Sinclair, also Opposition Senator Lisa Zhao here, the lead in the parliamentary opposition for the Senate, Senator Gideon Ferdinand. We also heard from Independent Senator Honorable Mauricio Thomas Francis. Opening the morning was the leader of Government Business, setting the stage for the debates, making the case known for this extension to the state of emergency. We note the return of Government Senator, the Honorable Herman Gill Francis, and he also did make his presentation in support of the extension of the state of emergency this morning as well. We do invite you to stay tuned to NTN. The proceedings will continue in an hour's time, where the senators will continue the debate on the motion to extend the state of emergency and other matters related to the Parliament. My name is Jessie Leon, signing off for now. Let me go back to studio. Thank you.